Okay, so let's dive right into Duke's training so that we can stay consistent at home. We are going to use these training tools to follow through with our commands and make sure that Duke knows that our boundaries are crystal clear. So let's talk about his obedience first. Whenever we take Duke for a walk, we are going to have him in the heel position about 80% of the time. So he should be walking next to us on the left-hand side on a nice loose leash. The other 20% of the time we can tell Duke free so that he can go sniff and explore. And what this is going to do is it's going to make passing other dogs on your walk a whole lot easier. That way he doesn't feel like he needs to be all excited all the time. He's focused on our pace versus just zigzagging and walking all over the place. So to reinforce the heel, when he is in the right position and he's doing a really good job, we want to make sure we reward that behavior with praise, petting, and treats. So good boy, good heel, and we reward Duke with a little bit of treats on our walk. If he decides, I want to walk faster than what you're walking at, and he tries to walk ahead when we're practicing the heel, we're going to say no and follow through with the commands. We say no to mark the behavior and let him know, hey, that's not what we're going for, and then we will follow through with the training equipment. So let's go over the prong collar first. He's going to wear this anytime he's on the leash, so that's going to be when you're on a walk or when you're having guests come over, or sometimes in the house when you need to create structure, especially around the kids. So he's going to have his leash attached to this collar. It is going to attach to the swivel D-ring. You see how it can rotate. That way it doesn't get hung up on the collar. How to put this on and take it off? We can hold one prong steady and we are going to push the other prong down and through to take the collar off. Then we snap it together by pinching, and it should line up like this. You can also, if you want, pinch the top and pull. That's another way to take this collar off, and then you pinch this prong to put it on around him. You cannot slip this over Duke's head. So then Duke's wearing this collar. We have the leash right here. We should never see this triangle. It should never be tight. We always want the leash to be nice and relaxed, and when we need to remind him of what he should be doing, he walks ahead, no, pop the leash, give him the reminder again. So it's no, heel. That's how we're going to follow through with the prong collar. We're going to use this too with other commands, but we're going to set it off to the side for now. With his remote collar, I really like how the collar itself, move that out of my way, the collar itself will not turn on with a push of a button, so if Duke is scratching his neck or something, he can't turn this on or off. How it turns on, there is a magnetic key on the side right here, and the remote has a matching magnetic key. We're going to touch these two together. You'll see a green light flash. That green light lets us know that it's on, charged, and ready to go. The remote itself, on the back side, we have an on-off button. We're going to push and hold that until the screen lights up. Once the screen is on, we know that the collar's on and ready to go. So we are going to focus on the black S button. That's the button we're going to focus on for this exercise. So Duke's going to wear this collar all day, every day, and we're going to take it off at night. That way we have the ability to follow through with our commands if he chooses to ignore them, right? So we're going to reward him when he does the command that we're asking, but we're also going to say, hey, if you don't do it, there is a little consequence, so we need you to respect our commands and respect the boundaries that we give you. So we're going on a walk. He's in the heel position. Again, the free, he can walk ahead of us and sniff around, but in the heel position, he has to walk right next to us at our pace. If he decides, I want to walk ahead or do something that's not walking calmly next to us, we're going to say no, push the black S button, and then follow through with the command heel. So it's no, heel. That's going to give him a little tingle and let him know, hey, you need to back up whatever he's doing in that command. So that is how we're going to follow through with any and all of our commands. If we ask him to sit, down, go to place, come when called, if he chooses to ignore our command or not perform the command, we are going to follow through with the training equipment. So let's move right along into sit. Sit has a stay implied to it. But, for example, like door manners, when we ask him to sit at the door, we're going to tell him sit, and then as we open the door, as a distraction happens, we're going to remind him sit. So you don't have to say stay, because stay is actually implied with the sit down and place command until he is released with the term free. Free means he is no longer in a command. That is his release word. So in the heel, when you want him to go sniff, it's free. When he's in a sit and you want him to get up and he can walk out the door, free. So free is the universal release command of you're done with performing that behavior right there. So when we have him sit, we open the door. He has to wait until we tell him free, and we can either walk through the door together, or we can walk slightly ahead of him, or he can walk slightly ahead of us. Whatever is more convenient for you guys. in that time frame. If he chooses not to do the sit when you ask, no, follow through with the remote and maybe a little pop of the leash depending on what the situation needs. Sometimes you need both, sometimes you only need one. It just kind of depends on how the distraction is. If he's really distracted, you probably will need both. If he's just a little distracted, you probably just need one. So then we have place. So this is going to be his most used command in the house. This is going to create a nice structured boundary so that the kids can play away from Duke. He's not stealing their toys or getting in their face or anything, but he is still existing in the house and being a part of everything. He is just in a structured boundary on place. When guests come over, when the kids are running around playing, when you're eating food, he should be on his place bed. That way he's still a part of everything, but it's nice and structured, and that way he can make better choices because he's in a calmer calmer mind space. So when dogs are overly aroused, like when he sees dogs out the window or behind the fence, he is not going to think logically, right? Because he is over aroused, he's going to make bad choices. So if we keep him at a calmer mindset, he's going to make better choices because he's not aroused and thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? So we want to keep him in that calm mindset in the house. When we reward for place, we always want to put the treat on the bed. That way he knows the bed, the platform produces the positive reward, and that's where the reward history is being on the bed, not from us. He'll get plenty of rewards from us later on in different commands. When we want to release him from this command, we do not release from a distance. So if he is on place, we walk him to the bed, we tell him place, good boy. Whenever distractions happen, we can go reward him for staying on the bed, saying good place, put the treat on the bed. But when it's time for him to get off of the bed, we go up to him, tell him he did a good job, and then we tell him free. We don't free from a distance. We always go to Duke, tell him he did a good job, then release. Now if he gets off of the bed before we say free, it's a no. Follow through with the remote and put him back on the bed. He is not allowed to just get off willy-nilly. He has to wait for that release term. So then we have down stay, very similar to place, except he has to remain in the down position. So on place, as long as all 4 feet are on the bed, he's good. He doesn't have to be in a sit or a down. But when you give him the verbal down command, that doesn't mean stop jumping. That means lay your body on the ground. He has to lay down. Same rules apply like with place. We reward low when he's in the down. If he gets up, no. Follow through, use the leash, tell him lay down, and then when we want to free him, we go up to him, good boy, and we release. Now let's say he's laying down and the baby starts to crawl. Even if you put him in a down, if he's like, this situation could cause conflict and wants to get up and get away, that is totally fine. We allow him to make decisions based on what's going to be more comfortable for him, and if once the baby's crawling around, she's crawling on him and kind of touching him, and he's like, okay, I'm just going to remove myself from this situation. That is okay for him to break the command in that setting, right? But anything other than that, or something that seems appropriate to you, he has to stay in the command until you tell him free. So then we have come when called. So when you're calling him to come to you, he can be in your backyard or you can be practicing in an open area. If you're in an open area, definitely have a leash on him. That way you can reel him in case he doesn't come to you. I always recommend safety first. But you tell him free, he is sniffing and exploring. If he chooses to come in and check in with us, let's reward that. We want to tell him, hey, when you make good choices, we are going to pay you for those good choices. So anytime he checks in, good boy, free, you can go hang out, but I appreciate you checking in with me. Here's your payday. Go ahead and free and explore. Then when we want him to come to us, he's sniffing something. We're like, all right, we need him to come here. Do come or just the come command. As he's coming to you, we back up and praise. That invites him into our space and lets him know that we are going to be fun, and he's going to come to us and always reward. We are going to always reward this command so that we build a really strong reward history with having Duke come into our space, and he's going to think, oh, that's the best thing ever. I'm going to always come when you call. If he chooses not to come when we call, no, follow through, use the leash if and when needed, and then we still back up and praise him as he comes to us because we are rewarding and praising the action of him coming to us. We have him sit and we still reward because the correction, the follow through happened out there. We are still the fun zone. We never call him to us and then correct him because then why would he want to come to us in the first place? Then we have leave it. Leave it means leave that or don't touch that. he has two options with it. So we worked on this with his resource guarding. When I approach, I ask him to leave it so that he removes himself from the bowl, and then I reward him. That way he knows, hey, I'm not coming to take food away from you. I am coming to you to give you something better. So the reason dogs guard their thing is because they think something is going to take it. So we are telling him, hey, we're not going to take your food from you. When we approach, we're going to give you something better. So when we approach, or if a child is approaching him, we ask him to leave the space, and then we reward him. That way there's no conflict and he doesn't feel the need to guard his food. If he chooses not to follow to the leave it command, we have the collar to reinforce, or I recommend having a leash on him, especially the first few times he's eating around the kids and things like that, to make sure we are prepared for safety first. But like always, make sure you let your kids know not to approach him while he's eating. This should be done with adults only and adult supervision. So those are Duke's commands. We have heel, walk next to me on a loose leash, sit down, place, come when called, and leave it, and then the free command. We are going to praise him and reward when he does what we're asking. We also have the muzzle conditioning, so I will go over that at the end of the video, show you how to do that and continue to do so. So those are his commands. You want to have fun when you're working with Duke, but most importantly, you want to use these training tools to stay consistent. So now we are going to show you examples of Duke's commands. Heel. Duke. Good boy. Good job. Down. Good boy. Oh. Down. Good. Down. Down. Good. Down. Good. Down. Good boy. Down. Good job. Down. Free. Good boy. All right, before we dive into the rest of the features of the remote collar, let's go over muzzle stuff. So whenever we are working with Duke, his feet, his ears, his face, whatever it may be that he might not be super comfortable with, especially getting his nails done, he has to have a muzzle on. He has not tried to bite, right? But this is to keep us safe and make sure that we show him, hey, even though you may not love your feet getting touched or your nails getting trimmed, we do have to do it, and this prevents us from getting scared and backing off if he shows not nice behaviors. So if he snarls and growls, naturally our reaction is to back off. But what that shows Duke is if you act like that, you get what you want, right? You get to not get your nails done. So we have to show him that, hey, even if you want to act a little spicy, we are still going to clip your nails, but we're going to do it in a way that's fun for him. So this opening at the bottom, it goes on like this. So this little strap goes between his eyes right here. We can put treats through here. Now when you're doing his nails, I recommend a longer treat like a pepperoni stick or something that's a little bit longer so your fingers aren't right in here. And because his nose is really long, but funny enough, when you put your hand like this, treats fall everywhere. So we cut hot dogs really long. That way he can be eating while getting his nails done, so it's not so dramatic for him. One person is feeding him. This is also like attached to him. We have worked on muzzle conditioning. You've been sent videos about it of how, you know, put the treat in the muzzle, have him wear it, have him put his face in and out a few times, and then we attach it to him. And we just clip it. This clips behind his ears, right? So we have a leash on, we have leverage for him, so if he does act a little crazy, a little spicy, we can say no, knock it off. All right, grab his foot, and then we go again. And it's food, 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 fun, 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 positive, because we don't want him to have a negative time, but there's a balance between being pushovers and getting the job done in a fair way for Duke. So he's getting food. While he's eating, we are trimming his nails. As soon as the food runs out, we are done trimming until we can get another piece. So he gets constant reinforcement for having his nails dealt with. So that's how we're going to use the muzzle. Now, let's dive into the collars. Again, this one, we already talked about. If he is going in a crate or somewhere where you're not able to watch him, take this thing off. We already went over how to unhook it. Oops. Dropped it, and how to put it back on. And again, the leash hooks to the D-ring, and we use it in a pop and release to get his attention. Never constant pull, just pop, pop, pop as needed. The remote collar, so we know how to turn the collar on. Now let's learn how to turn the collar off. So same exact way we touch the two magnets together. You're going to see a red light. Green light means on, red light means off. Now when the collar is running low and needs to be charged, it'll flash orange and then it'll flash red. So you know, okay, the collar is running low, it needs to be charged. You can probably get about 2 days on the collar. That is if you turn it off at night and you're not using the flashlight feature, which I will go over here in a second. The on-off button in the back, push and hold that, and the screen goes blank. Push and hold it, and the screen lights up. Now, I mentioned the flashlight feature. If you just touch this back button right here and you tap it, it activates the flashlight on his collar, which is great at night, but if you leave it on all the time, it will drain the battery. So if you think you turn this off, you might have accidentally activated the flashlight because it's a tap, and you activate it. Okay, so the black S button is level 30. That is the level that is working for Duke right now. Now, if we need to change that, if level 30 is not working at home and we're having to push this constantly, we need to up it. The level of distraction will impact what level works for him to get his attention. We want it high enough so that he does the behaviors we're asking to avoid the collar, but we don't want it so high that it hurts his feelings. So 30 is right around the sweet spot right now that I have found that works for Duke. But if you need to adjust it, this right here is how you're adjusting it, but notice that it's not moving. You have to unlock it first. So you hold down for a little bit, you unlock it, now you can turn it down or up, whatever needs to happen to make Duke successful in listening to our commands. We set it to where we want it, then we lock and hold it in place. That way we don't accidentally turn it up or down if it's hanging around our neck or in our pockets or something. The red S button, that is for emergencies only. That is going to add 30 to whatever level is on the screen. We have not needed this yet for Duke, but you have it in case you need it. Examples of when you might need the boost level: gets out of the yard, takes off for the road, and you live near a highway or a busy street. You're calling him, Duke, come, but he is chasing something. He is locked onto it, so his adrenaline is high. Level 30 only reaches to right here. Level 60 is going to reach that right there and snap him out of it and get his attention. He has not needed that, so you should not need that feature at all, but you have it in case you need it. So just be careful. Do not push the red S button unless you need it. The T right here, that is for vibrate. We haven't really needed this for Duke either. It's more of like a warning once he understands the command. So I would say maybe 6 months to a year down the road, if he's doing really well and you just need to give it, like he makes a little mistake and you're just like, hey, remember what you're supposed to be doing. It's kind of like a little warning. Plus, when you're putting this on Duke, I like to push the vibrate a few times to make sure I didn't accidentally click it and turn the collar off, because it is a pretty sensitive magnet. And then we have the M/C button back here. You do not need to change this from momentary to continuous. Momentary means if I push down and hold the button, it only stimulates that quick second. So you do not need to use continuous. We used continuous in the beginning of his training on a very low level to introduce what the stimulation meant. Feel the stimulation, come to me, get a treat. Feel the stimulation, go to place, get a treat. Things like that. That's how we introduced it. But now he doesn't need that. He just understands that if I do the command, I don't have to feel the stim. If I don't do the command, there is going to be stim. So for example, when he's in your backyard, I would recommend maybe the first couple times having a long line that's 30 to 50 feet on him, so that he doesn't have, you have a way to reel him in if he gets overstimulated at the fence with seeing another dog, right? That was one of our main concerns, is he would just get so overstimulated seeing other dogs, he would bite the fence and hurt himself. So let him make choices. We have to see what he's going to do and then react upon that. It's better to have more structure, but sometimes we have to let Duke make decisions and then we react upon them. So if he starts to get huffy and puffy and too excited, call him to you. Say, all right, Duke, you can't handle being out there and seeing another dog yet. So we call him to us. Good boy, we set him up for success. Okay, free. Let's see if you can learn from that and not react that way. You have your training equipment. If he does not come to you, you use it as needed. And then we kind of gauge his experience like you saw in the video with the other dogs. You just kind of have to see, how he's going to react and then base that on the equipment. But it's always better to have more equipment on him and not need it than not have any equipment on him and really need it. Okay, and then let's talk about what's in his box. So these are his extra prongs. You won't need them for his size, but you might need them if one of the prongs gets bent for some reason, if we step on it or something. We have a charger that's going to charge both the remote and the collar at the same time. Oh, which reminds me, I didn't show you where those were. So on the back here, that's the charging port for your remote. And for his collar, it has a beautiful quick snap, which makes it a lot easier to put on and off. It is underneath here. So it'll take just a few hours to charge, and again, you can do it like every other day as long as you turn the collar off at night when you take the collar off of Duke. He can only wear it 12 to 14 hours a day. It does have to come off because it fits snug, so we can't have it on all the time. It's just like wearing a smartwatch. You usually take it off for a little bit so it can charge. Same thing with the collar for him. It has to come off for a little bit. This is the collar that came with it originally. It's like a backup strap, but I really recommend the bungee quick snap. Makes it a lot easier putting on and taking off. And then he does have pretty long hair, but the short prongs are working. These are extended prongs. You might have to change them in the wintertime when his hair kind of thickens out, and that's the tool to do it right there. So you might have to change it out. It's really easy. And then we have the manual that goes over all the features in greater detail. So that is his remote collar, and again, have fun, stay consistent. You want to make sure you have these on him so you can use them to follow through. It's better to have them and not need them. So if you have any questions, let us know, and as always, have fun and stay consistent.